Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Jimmy Wendolek, joined by my co-host with a brand new haircut, Stuart Dougherty. Thanksgiving is upon us, and that means a day full of great food, great football, and possibly some great fall weather.
Which MJ will let us know in his upcoming forecast. We also have a variety of nature in the news stories and a feature where each member of the Whether or Not shares their favorite Thanksgiving weather memories.
I could talk about this holiday for hours. Thanksgiving is my second favorite holiday, and I look forward to all the festivities that come with it. What's your favorite part of Thanksgiving, Stuart?
My favorite part is setting the scale back 10 pounds, but I think my haircut has done the job. What about you, Jimmy?
I love spending the day on the couch watching football with my family before sitting down for dinner. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into Nature in the News. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City is one of the most famous Thanksgiving traditions, but sometimes Mother Nature wants to ruin the festivities. Wind is the biggest threat to the parade. Regulation state parade balloons can only be operated if winds are below 23 miles per hour and gusts are below 34 miles per hour. But these regulations have not always been in place. In 1997, winds in New York City reached 43 miles per hour, damaging several balloons and injuring 4 spectators. Rain does not affect the floats and balloons in the parade, but it definitely affects the people working on them. Parade volunteers and performers adjust by wearing more waterproof layers and having umbrellas on hand to help stay dry. Snow on Thanksgiving in New York is uncommon, but even a few inches of snow will not stop the celebration. In 1989, 4.7 inches of snow fell in Central Park, and yet 1.8 million people still flocked to the streets to watch the parade. Even without snowfall, frigid temperatures can affect the parade. Not only will spectators have to bring an extra winter hat and gloves, but the lower the temperature, the more helium needed to fill the massive balloons. Thanksgiving parades are fun for people of all ages, and knowing the weather is important for both parade watchers and workers. It's Thanksgiving here, whether or not, and Thanksgiving is a great time to get together with friends and families and share some stories about the past year. Now, speaking of stories, we all have some weather stories of our own about Thanksgiving. Let's start off with Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. So my Thanksgiving story happened many years ago. I would say probably 8 years ago. I was a young teenage kid at the time, and I was still new to surfing. Um, Now, surfing for me is an all year round type of thing. I usually never get out of the water throughout the year. Once it gets cold, I put on the wetsuit and I still paddle out even in November. But for this Thanksgiving, many years ago, the water was very cold, and it was just after a little nor'easter that swept its way up the coast. Now, I don't think the nor'easter had a name at the time. It wasn't any kind of a winter storm or anything like that. Um, it kind of went under the radar for a lot of people for in terms of the weather, but it did send a pretty good deal of waves to my home state of New Jersey, and I got to surf it with my dad the morning after the storm went by. Now, I was very young at the time, and with bigger waves and when you're younger, all the waves are going to look a lot bigger to you since you're so small and so young. So for me, when that storm came through, and I went to surf that day. The waves were pretty big for how small I used to be when I was younger. So it was definitely it was very a scary experience for me with surfing. I was very timid to catch any of the waves. All the waves were just towering over my head, and it was really cold. It was one of the coldest surfing experiences I've ever had because the wind was blowing just so hard. I think the wind was like 20, 25 miles an hour offshore, and that's when you're paddling in for a wave, the wind is blowing right at your face in an offshore wind. So it was very difficult to catch any of the waves, and it was very big. So it was not only was it intimidating, it was also very cold. So that was probably the most memorable Thanksgiving experience that I've had when it comes to the weather. What about you, Stuart?
Well, do not have a very elaborate story like you, Brian, but some of my favorite, fondest memories is driving to my grandmother's house on Interstate 68, coming off of Cheat Lake and heading up Laurel Mountain, seeing a couple snowflakes here or there. Not whiteout conditions, but definitely fun seeing the snowflakes fall, getting ready to go visit my grandma for Thanksgiving.
My Thanksgiving story has to do, go back in time a couple years, where we had some snow on Thanksgiving morning. Now, snow, very common in the Northeast, but not so much at the end of November around Thanksgiving. So just having some snow, they say that Thanksgiving is like the unofficial start of the Christmas season. So just having some snow on Thanksgiving morning really made it feel like Christmas out there. And it was just a great way to end the month of November, moving into the month of December, which is my favorite time of year. So thanks, guys, for all of your amazing stories. And I hope that some of our viewers have some great weather stories of their own, and maybe we'll add on to them this Thanksgiving.
Hello, student meteorologist Michael Jablonski here with the Central PA forecast. Hope that everybody is enjoying their Thanksgiving break. Fortunately, good bit of precip of all sorts of varieties headed on the way here. And starting with Friday, we'll see a cold front push its way across the state of Pennsylvania, bringing rain more to the eastern half of the state, especially early and throughout the day on Friday. And western parts of the state will be a bit cooler there, so they'll see some mixed precip leaning towards the side of snow. Again, this will largely depend on where you see those temperature variations. It will be quite cool for most of the state overall, though, and you'll see those temperatures really dip down on Friday night going into Saturday, but most of the storms will be out of the way come early Saturday. We'll still have a few lingering flurries in place for the Erie region, but for the rest of the state, it'll mainly be a mix of sun and clouds. And again, chilly conditions can really be felt. You'll especially have a strong breeze coming Saturday evening and going into early Sunday. And even though there's a high pressure system in place for Saturday, that'll quickly be moved out of the way as another low pressure system and more storms come into play on Sunday. And again, much like with Friday, what type of precip you see here will largely depend on where in the state you are. As you go more toward the northern parts of Pennsylvania, you will see a larger mix of rain and snow, leaning more towards snow and even a little bit of sleet, so do be careful if you have to drive on Sunday. But many of the central and southern parts of the state will also see mixed precip, but more leaning towards the side of rain. But again, that'll largely depend on how warm it'll get throughout the day. Temperatures will be leaning right just above or below freezing for most of the state, so something to monitor as we go throughout the weekend. But taking a look at the day-to-day conditions for Friday, we'll have a high of 36 degrees, and again, mixed precip for central PA, but largely leaning towards rain more than snow for Friday. Friday night, low of 29 degrees, and most of your showers will be out of the way, leaving cloudy conditions, but also very strong winds, so it'll feel even colder than that 29. For Saturday, the high will also be 36 degrees, and a mix of sun and clouds here. No home football game for Penn State to worry about, but best of luck to them on their last game of the season nonetheless. And for Saturday night, we will have a low of 27 degrees, and you'll start to see the next low pressure system arrive and bring some flurries very late into Saturday night. And that will be the case on Sunday as well, where we see that mixed precip, and a high of 40 degrees right now is what we have for central PA. So for that region in particular, expected to be more rain than snow, but you may see both types falling as we go throughout the weekend. But that'll do it for the central PA forecast. And now for a more long-range forecast, here's Brian Michigan with your climate outlook.
Hello everyone, I'm Penn State student meteorologist Brian Michigan, bringing a climatology outlook for the month of December here in Pennsylvania. Now, the month of December certainly has a lot of events in store, like the start of winter and the holiday season, which will be occurring towards the back half of the month of December. First off, though, we're to kick things off with the temperature outlook. by the Climate Prediction Center. This is the latest outlook, which shows above normal temperatures, which look to be predicted for the southwestern areas of the country. That's in states like Arizona or New Mexico. You could be experiencing some above normal temperatures as we head throughout the month. Now, as we head eastward towards our neck of the woods, in State College, Pennsylvania, that's where our temperatures could be around average throughout much of the month of December, but that's certainly not to say that we will have fluctuations and extremes when given our temperatures. We certainly can have days below normal and days above normal as well. Now, as we take a look at our precipitation outlook, you'll notice two areas of above normal precipitation, one of them being slightly above normal near the Great Lakes region. That's closer to our neck of the woods. And as we head westward towards the northwestern areas of the country near Seattle, Washington, or Billings, Montana, that's where precipitation amounts could be slightly above the normal as we head throughout the month. Now, I would like to also note the southern tier of the country. A big swath of below normal precipitation is what is currently predicted by the Climate Prediction Center, extending from California all the way eastward towards North Carolina. Now, as we take a look at our climatology here and around State College, we're to start things off with December 1st, and we're to compare it with the end of the month on December 31st. We're to start, though, with our sunrise on December 1st being 7:16 a.m. and our sunset being 4:44 p.m. Now, that sunset is quite early in the day, so it'll be definitely getting dark as you head out for your last classes of the day if you're a Penn State student. And for your average temperatures, your average high on December 1st is 43 degrees and your average low being 29 degrees. Now we're to take a look at the climatology for December 31st. We're to compare them with how we started the month. Sunrise 7:35 and sunset will be 4:53. So the days will be lengthening as we head towards the back half of the month. And that's also great news for the sunset time, because who likes when the sun goes down so early in the day? I would also like to mention the average high temperature of 35 degrees for December 31st. That's 8 degrees cooler than we started the month of December. And for your average low of 23 degrees, that's 6 degrees lower than we started the month on December 1st. Now, as we take a look here, the winter solstice will be occurring on December 21st at around 10:50 a.m., and that marks the official start of winter. Now, next, we're going to get into some of the extremes that we have recorded here in State College, Pennsylvania over the years, and that one of them is a record high temperature of 71 degrees set back on December 7th of 1998. That is 31 degrees above normal for your temperature on December 7th. And for your record low, minus 13 degrees set back in December 30th, 1917. That's 34 degrees below normal for December 30th. Now, as we take a look at our snowfall throughout the month of December, we sit around 8 inches as an average snowfall for Pennsylvania, and our record for the most snowfall in the month of December set back in 1890 at around 32.6 inches of snow. Now, that's going to about do it for the climatology outlook here in Pennsylvania. We hope that everyone has a great Thanksgiving break and a great December ahead. Reporting from Weather or Not, I'm Brian, Michigan.
It was great hearing about everyone's favorite Thanksgiving weather stories. Spending a Thanksgiving out on the ocean wave sounds awesome. Brian's going to have to teach us how to surf over winter break.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to the ocean since 2006, and I haven't even stood on a thin, flat vessel on water before, so I'm a little bit concerned.
Well, Stuart, there's a first time for everything. Well, while we go prepare our surfboards, that about wraps up this week's edition of Weather or Not. We thank you all for tuning in and hope to see you again next week. But until then, I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Stuart. Have a stuffed day.